Hi everyone, we are going to have some fun today making emails in EcoSend. And in fact, we're going to be making emails for EcoSend in EcoSend with EcoSend. And I hope you get some sort of hot drink. I've got a coffee here and we're going to do, a live little workshop here. I'm going to go through this. Much like if you saw a previous video, last year we did a workshop on creating a newsletter in EcoSend, and we talked through creating Hugo's Adventures newsletter, and this outlines how to put together a lovely, beautiful, readable newsletter in EcoSend and all the steps and bits and bobs that I did to create that. Today, what we're going to do is actually create a new email that's going to be available for everyone in EcoSend. And this will be released after we've recorded it. So when you're watching this, you'll probably be able to get this template in your account. It's one of the most popular email templates we actually have. So if I go in to create a broadcast and I go into our templates here, we have this template called Announce EcoSend. Now, customers love sending this because it basically is telling people why they made a switch to a digital, sustainable, focused email platform, why they switched to EcoSend. We know so many of you are passionate about doing good in the world, have wonderful businesses that are very much focused around making a positive impact. And we know a lot of you, that's a big reason why you use EcoSend. So this email tells people a little bit more about what EcoSend is, what we do, and really highlights why you would make a switch like that. So we find that customers love this because it really engages their audience on the topic of digital sustainability, which is often a totally new field for people. Now, to start with, we're going to tackle this because this current email, as good as it has been, it's somewhat lacking. We don't feel it's very visual. It's perhaps a little bit cold. It doesn't quite get you excited, and it's just not making the best use of a lot of possible features and functionality in EcoSend. The main thing we want to make sure people do with any email we send is to make sure people enjoy reading it, to make sure people see it and actually engage with it. We all spend so much time building our audiences. You think about how much work it is to get people to your website, to then get them to sign up to your newsletter or through a form. And then when it comes to sending email, you think about how much work goes into creating an email, thinking about what to say, thinking about what the subject line should be, thinking about any of the images. The goal of this session today is really to just try and give you a few tips and tricks to make it more likely that when someone clicks or taps to open your email, that they'll actually take some time to read and consume what you've written in there. So just going to have a little sip of the old coffee and we'll tuck in. So what we're going to do is start with a blank slate. So we'll start here. We've got a fresh, brand new blank slate. Now EcoSend automatically populates the footer here. So you get this sort of standardized sent with EcoSend, the unsubscribe functionality. Now, of course, first and foremost, one of the basics with sending email, we all know that putting an unsubscribe link is essential in your emails. It's actually something you can't send an email in EcoSend without having an unsubscribe link. Why do we do that? Well, it's required, but really critically, we always just think about everything in email with the lens of what would we want to receive? What would you want to receive in your inbox? And what would really annoy you if it wasn't there? What would really annoy you if it was there? So things like the unsubscribe link, it's such a critical thing because none of us want to receive email that we don't want. And there's nothing more frustrating than receiving email from a brand that we don't want to hear from anymore. It's not something to take personally. The alternative is far, far worse because if that unsubscribe link isn't there, people are only going to mark the email as spam, that's going to harm your whole reputation and make it much harder to send email in the future. So that's just a little bit about the EcoSend footer there. We just make that really easy so you don't even have to think about it. Now, we are going to do this live, so there may be some mistakes along the way, but that's all part of the creative process. I've actually created, mocked up an email just in my design program. Not sure if you can see that on your screen, but we've already created something that we're going to be using as a sort of reference material. Now, there's a few things already that I know I want to change in the email. One of them is our color scheme. So what I do want to do is get this color, and we want to set this as our background. So color schemes are important. Lots of us have brands where we care a lot about our colors. This background color at the moment is currently white. It's not the end of the world. That might be suitable for your brand. But lately with EcoSend, we've been using much more, how should we say it, wholesome, maybe organic colors. I don't know. Don't want to get too fancy. But that is a sort of a more neutral tone. And then we're going to change our default text color to be matching with our dark EcoSend green, and I'll just get the hex code for that. Don't worry about this stuff I'm doing in my design program. It's just to get the color values. So you might have these in a brand guideline document, or you might not have those colors at all, and it doesn't matter. You can just be freeform, and in which case you can just use this color palette here. So I'll just put that dark green in here, and those two combined, really pay attention to another thing that we really care about at EcoSend. We care about sustainability deeply. Another thing we care about is accessibility. And for those of you who maybe haven't heard that term before, or in the context of email in particular, when we think about accessibility, it's really trying to make sure our emails, our websites, our content is easy for people to consume across a whole spectrum of abilities and needs. And when we think about that with email, it means thinking about people that might have impaired vision, or even just people that, you know, might wear glasses. Thinking about how we make it as easy as possible to read things. And I think we've all probably been to websites or received emails where you have to really squint to read what is in the email. There might be a really light background and really light text. That's not helping anyone. So these two colors have a really good contrast ratio, and you can check this in various tools. There's various accessibility checkers and tools out there that you can use to confirm that contrast ratio is as good as possible. So that's just a quick note on that. Right, we have set a background color. We have got that. So if we just hit up here is our preview button, and that shows you, not much to look at right now, I know. We've got a background color, and we just haven't got any content. We've also got the footer here, and we should be able to set the background. Nope, that's the text color. I told you this would be live. I think we will keep that white for now. But let's get started with our content. So what we've got in our design up at the top is actually a logo. So we will put in our EcoSend logo, and what have we got? We have got this in, we have got this in here. Let's grab that. And we will, now, first and foremost, we will notice that that logo is far too big. We don't want to be shouting at people like that. So let's make that smaller. And we will bring that right down. So it's nice, you can just, don't have to type in any numbers. You can just drag that slider around. Now what we really want to make sure, again in the theme of accessibility, is we want to set an alternative text label on this image. So that basically means if people are using a screen reader, or if for whatever reason they can't load images, maybe they're on the underground in London, or maybe they have really bad connection and images just not loading for whatever reason, or they might have an email client that doesn't load images by default. By setting the alternative text, people can still understand what that element is without having to rely on the image. So here we'll just put in EKSend logo, and that means that will show if it doesn't work. It's always good, a really good habit, whether it's your website, whether it's your email, generally whenever you put your logo there, to link to your homepage. So I will do that now. I'll just bring up the EKSend homepage. I'll take that URL and I'll put that in there, and that will work. There we go. Now we'll just got that all done. I'll just save a draft, and I'll just go onto mobile to see how we're looking. Now what we could do is on mobile make this a little bit bigger, so hopefully that works well for both, and we're in a really good place. There we go. So we've got 32% width on desktop and 50% on mobile, so that we're appropriately showing things on both. And we can again just preview that just to check. You can look at it even on tablet and on mobile just to see. So far so good. One thing you'll notice is that is on a white background, and we don't want that. So let's just see if we can change that. That would be in the block settings. So if we actually just remove the background on there, we've now got that on our nice background. And actually I think that might be what I was missing earlier. So that's just one thing to bear in mind. The structure of the emails in EKSend, you have your content, which is, say, our logo image here, the footer here, but also surrounding the content we have these blocks, and these are essentially the, well, building blocks of the email. It's worth bearing in mind that they can be a background color or colors set on the blocks and on the content. So if we click our block here for the footer, we've got that white background that we were trying to find earlier. So we'll get rid of that. And now you'll see if we go to our preview that things are, we got rid of the white there. I believe the footer is not showing on that preview just because it's a custom block, so that will show when you send your test email. We'll get to that in a bit. So we have got our 2 blocks so far, so we're making some progress, but we want to add some more. So let's add another block in, and we'll pop that in there. Now, what did we have in our email design? We had another image, and this is our kind of hero image. So we will take a look at adding that. So let's do the same thing again as we did with the logo. We will drag an image in, and then we'll upload our illustration. Uploading. There we go. So that is in the email, and got it to automatically set the width right now. We will do an alternative text again. So illustration showing an email campaign being sent with EKSend. Let's call it that. And we don't need to set a link on that. We'll also just see how that looks on mobile. It's automatically setting the width. So we're all good. You'll notice with this image, I've set it as a PNG so that we get to make it feel part of the content with transparent edges and backgrounds. I've also pre-compressed this image with a fantastic tool. I'll just save that a sec. If you're ever wondering about compressing your images, there's a fantastic tool called Squoosh. So you can take any image, drag it in there, and it will work its magic. And for these images, I created them in a design program like Figma. Squoosh can sometimes reduce the size of those images by 50, 60, 70, 80%, which is just brilliant from a perspective of sending less, making sure your email weighs as little as possible, making sure you're using as little energy as possible. These are all great principles to follow. And they, of course, mean people are more likely to actually see your content too. So we'll just go to our preview again. And as you can see, we've got that, we've got that, we've got that. It's all looking okay so far. So now, if we go back to our blocks, we will now things get interesting because we're going to actually add some text for the first time. So let's add our text, and what we're going to do now is we will set our text. Now you can set it to anything you want in here. These are all sort of open fonts. We'll set it to Helvetica though. This is a great versatile font. It falls back to Arial on Windows. Some people don't like that there are two fonts and that Helvetica is the original, but we won't go into font stuff today. Helvetica is just a great versatile font. It's just usually works for most things. Right, we have a bunch of text content we've already prepared in our design program. So and I'm not here to talk to you too much about writing today, more about design and formatting. So we'll just get this hopefully looking good. So we'll just make sure we've got our paragraphs there. We want to add a link to EcoSend again, so I'll just grab the EcoSend URL. What else did we do in our design program? What else did we do? We make email force figured. Folded that. Right, so one of the things we want to do is we all know that emails are far more interesting when they are personalized. So what we want to make sure we do is, rather than saying hi there, the likelihood is we might know people's first name. So let's do the classic thing of swapping out there for first name. So we should have first name in here. We've got lots of events in here and data. You might, if you're just starting up, you'll probably just have a few, so it's much easier to see. So we'll do hi first name. There we go. We've got our hi first name, and that means for everyone on your list, people will automatically have their first name showing there, which is great. So that's all good. We'll just do a little preview of that just to see how we're looking. We've got text, we've got images, we've got an email, so this is good. Right, what do we want to do now? We've got desktop as well. So there's a few things here. This email is quite wide on desktop, and that's something that we just might want to watch out for. There's some well-established guidelines around creating text and writing text, and one of the things that is really important is to think about the number of words per line. Think about the size of your text in the size of the font size of your text in comparison to how much text you have and how it's laid out on the page. To also think about the spacing between the lines and between the paragraphs. All of these things are all small things, but when you get them right, it can be the difference between having an email that looks really long and just too much effort to read, and an email that actually looks really, really interesting and engaging and enticing to read. So we'll just apply some of these principles now. So to start with, what I would like to do is see if we can set a content width. I would say we actually want to make this maybe more like 480. And if we just go back now you'll see on mobile the content width is smaller because the screen size is smaller. On desktop, even though the screen is bigger, our content is still in quite a thin column. Now, you might say, well, is that good? Is that bad? The benefit is we now have shorter lines of text to read. And that is a really, really important aspect of reading. When you think about a good book you've read, when you think about like the newspaper, if you picked up one of them at all recently, the column width of your text is often much smaller. If you imagine picking up a newspaper and the text ran across the entire page, it'd be a real effort to try and read across every line. So keeping that narrower really helps make it more enticing. And that applies on desktop and on mobile. Now we've done that, so that's good. And now what we also could do, I would say we could actually try and make our font a little bit bigger. We could go up to 16 pixels as our font size. And our line height, I reckon we could play with making just a little bit bigger to give it a little bit of room. I would say maybe we want to make it 160. Generally 150, 160% is good. And what that means is basically we're setting the height of the line of text, so like that. We're setting that, the percentage here is based on how big your text is. So this percentage value is relative to your font size. So if you have size 10 pixel text, 160% line height would basically be 16 pixels. So we'll keep letter spacing the same, and I think that's actually probably pretty good. Let's just go to our preview again, see how we're looking. So feel free to share your opinions, but we've actually got something here that is pretty readable and starting to take shape. Looks good on mobile, looks good on desktop. So we'll just save that. And essentially now we just want to go back to our content and make sure we get the rest of this going. So we've got a button that we want to add in. Let's get that button in. Let's do that. So we'll add another block in, and we'll pop this in here. So content, we'll add in button. And of course the default styling of this is not quite what we want. So what we had as our text was tell me more. And we want that background color to be in line with our color from before. We've got this lovely green. So we will take that and put that in there. So that's that. Now, just stylistically for this email, I'll just share another little thing. The text color of that button at the moment is white, which is okay, it's fine. But one of the things we've been trying to do on here is kind of bring the content and the email itself as one to make it feel like they are considered together. So what we can do here is actually set that text color on the button instead to the same color as our background. So that was, what did we have that? If I had a better memory, I'd remember these hex codes off by heart, but we will set that there. And now, it's a very subtle difference that might not even pick up on everyone's screens, but that text color is now the same as the background. So it kind of feels like the button, the text is cutting through to the background of the button. Right, we will just do a few more things. We'll make the button text bold. I think we could make the font size a bit better, a bit bigger. We've got spacing. What we definitely want to do on this button is make the padding a bit bigger. So we will, let's do 16. Let's do 16. And perhaps we do left, right. Now what we also can do is make the rounded corners on this button much more rounded. And actually in our design we have it more as a sort of pill shape. So if we just keep going up on there, we've actually got this pill shape now. So that is starting to look a bit more like we want it to. We'll also just make sure we just set that to global font, and we're pretty much there, I think. Yeah. The only other thing, we also critically, easy one to forget, want to make sure that actually links somewhere. So let's just say we'll just link it to the EcoSend homepage again and pop that in there. And there we go. So we'll just do a preview. There we go. So we've got a pretty solid email started there with proportional text, images that feel part of the design with alt tags that are accessible, a button that works, and a design that works on desktop and mobile beautifully. So all that remains really, and there is a little bit more content we could be adding, but for now a lot of that really will be repeating what we've just done there. So you can copy and paste the blocks, copy and paste some of the existing stuff to build up your full email, and that will be in everyone's account soon, so we'll work some magic to make that happen. But for now, that should help you get on your way with creating a lovely email, a well-designed email. There's a few other things I just wanted to touch on that are worth bearing in mind for any email we send. Having your logo at the top is a really, really good idea, and linking it back to your website, because it is a great reminder of who you are and what you do. Making sure we have accessible text, alt text on any images we have in the email. Making sure you really pay attention to font size, line height, column width on all devices is really important. Thinking structurally about your campaign and your email. When you send it out, what do you want people to do? Do you want people to just read the email? That's fine. If you've got a story to tell, you want people to read the email, great. Maybe you want to encourage them to share it, encourage them to forward the email, click through to a web hosted version of the email. Maybe you want people to click through and go take action. Whatever that action is, it's best to make it really, really obvious and clear. So many emails where they make it people make it very subtle what the goal of the email is. And that often is a really good sign that it probably won't get the kind of impact and engagement you want. People are very busy. We all know how busy we are when we're going through our inbox. The more you can do to make it really obvious what you want someone to do, clicking a big button on one big button, not giving people 20 options or 5 options even, but giving people one option, it's just a really, really good idea to drive engagement. I would also say, critically, for any campaign, setting the subject line is the most important thing you can do. Because if you don't get the subject line right, chances are people might not ever even click onto your email or go into your email. So getting the subject line right, and you can do some great subject lines in EcoSend. We've even got support documentation and tools for creating wonderful subject lines. You can even put variables into subject lines, so you can personalize them based on people's names and all sorts of other information you have in EcoSend. You also And one of the little known features in EcoSend, which is a little bit tucked away, you can also set pre-header text. So I don't know if you think about when you're in your email inbox, you often see who an email's from, so the sender name, you see the subject line, but you also often see a little preview of the message. In Apple Mail on the iPhone, like that's in line. In Gmail, it's sort of to the right of the sender. But it's also information you see before you've gone into the email. You can set that pre-header text in EcoSend here, and that's just a really, really good idea. Well, no, it's pretty much essential to make sure you give yourself the highest chance of people reading your email. I'd also just say you can do a bunch of other stuff in EcoSend with our saved blocks. We have our social links here, so you can drop these in, and just making sure that you pay attention to updating these. So making sure you link to your, whether it's your LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever you want. You can hide and show whichever ones you want. You can use that as a saved block, and that's great. You can also use all sorts of other templates in here that we've got. You can also customize this. We've recently introduced the ability to have multiple mailing lists in EcoSend. You can remind people why they signed up to your list, which is a good idea. All of these things help you with communicating with your contacts and your audience and making sure they understand why they've got an email and feel empowered to control the emails they receive, which is a better world for everyone. So last but not least, just make sure, and do this anytime as much as you like, send a test of your email to yourself, your friends, your family, your colleagues. Send a test out before you send your main broadcast. You can do that really, really easily. It's a great idea because even though you can preview things in your browser, you never know what might be just unexpected on certain devices, whether it's reading it on a phone, someone's got a different email client, someone on the team's probably spotted a typo you didn't catch. Doing that is a great idea just before you're sending any campaign, and really gives you the reassurance and confidence of how your message will look to your audience. So thank you very much for watching this session today. Thank you for dealing with some of the fun and joy of showing a platform and a workflow in real time. And I really hope you enjoy using EcoSend and sending your next emails and campaigns. Good luck with your sending, and just remember, we're here to help every step of the way, so any questions, just get in touch. Thanks, and see you soon.